come over here. I'll show you. Come on, come on, come on. Right. So here you see some blank paper. And this is about the level of coaching that you probably enjoy right now. I know you get mentoring, you get direction, you get advice, but what you don't get is any coaching. And why is that a problem, I hear you ask? Well, it's a problem for the same reason that if an elite athlete tried to make it to the Olympics or the Rugby World Cup without coaching, the same problems would happen. They wouldn't get there in most cases. It'd be hard, it'd be stressful, they'd end up having to invent things themselves. Guess what? It's exactly the same for tech entrepreneurs. So why doesn't coaching happen more regularly for tech entrepreneurs? Well, the funny answer is it happens incredibly regularly in some parts of the world, such as Silicon Valley. Look at the top 3 tech entrepreneurs in the world, the top 3 companies by market cap. Apple, Google, now Alphabet, and Amazon. All 3 CEOs had coaching, and all 3 was actually by the same person. He was credited as being the reason that all 3 had a massive exponential trajectory. So there's a well-established link between top companies are led by top CEOs who have top coachings. That's true in any company, including in tech companies. And yet, for the most part, if you're a tech entrepreneur, you never get to be any part of that world, and you have to settle for something which is really substandard. And as a result of that, what happens? As a result of that, your life ends up being stressful. It's an emotional roller coaster. You're sold this myth that you need to work these crazy hours, that you need to abandon doing a lot of things which give you joy outside your tech company, and you expect to sacrifice sleep, relationships, hobbies, personal well-being, health, all these things, and it's an absolute nonsense. So the tech entrepreneurs I work with are hitting it out of the park by any commercial measure you care to imagine, whether that be pitching success rate, revenue, profitability, ARPU, churn rate, fill in the blank, or valuation increase, or number of exits. They're all hitting it out of the park commercially. Much more importantly, much more important, they're thriving, they're enjoying the journey, they're having fun, they're having a ball with each other. And much more importantly than any of those 2 things, they're happy, they're having impact, they're giving back to the family, and they're becoming serial entrepreneurs. Because they're doing something differently. Here's what it is. This is what I work with people on. So right now, there are 3 things that are really important if you're running a tech company. 3 things fundamentally you need to be able to do really, really well. Pitch, sell, and lead. Why pitch? Well, pretty simple really. And this is like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So pitching is like your food and shelter. If you can't pitch, you're screwed. You don't get to eat, you don't get shelter, you don't get to get stage 2 because you don't get capital into your company. So that's obviously really important. Now, the industry success rate out there right at the moment is pretty low. 10.4% of Kiwi-based companies who seek investment actually get it. That means you've got an almost 90% chance of not getting the investment you want in the next stage of your growth journey. That's insanely bad. The companies that I work with have a success rate of 94%. Okay. So in other words, it's a choice between a win rate, which is worse than the Wallabies by an order of magnitude, or better than the All Blacks by a similar, not a similar magnitude, but better than the All Blacks. And that's all possible by learning the science and the art of how to pitch, how to carry a persuasive message, great mindset, great tactics, and fantastic delivery, and combine them. So the companies I work with put it out of the park. And you might be thinking we've already got investment, we've already pitched, we don't need to do that again for a while. Now you know that you've got seed, you've got Series A, you've got Series B, you've got Series C. People tell you that each one of them by themselves takes 9 months, which is a lie, by the way. It only takes 3 months if you know what you were doing. But even so, 3 months times 4, that's 12 months of your life you're going to be spending pitching. So you've got to get real good at it so you can shorten 9 months times 4, which is what? 3 years, down to 1 year of pitching. So you can get back to the second thing, which is selling your software or your technology as opposed to selling shares in your company. So you can get great valuations, and so you're not stressed along the journey. Real story, a friend of mine, we were in the same incubator together back in the early 2000s. He ended up wearing these things as a direct result of going through a Series A $5 million US raise because it was so stressful, he lost his 20/20 vision. And I hear stories like that all the time. It doesn't have to be stressful. Step 2, once you've learned how to pitch, we're on to the second stage of the entrepreneur's hierarchy of needs, and that is to be able to sell. Okay? How do you sell not just sell effectively, but how do you increase the conversion rate? How do you generate better leads? Yes, all that standard stuff, but it's not standard stuff in a tech company. This is not sales 101. You cannot just get some generic sales training because the rules are totally different in a tech company, in a startup company. How do you get your first beta sale? How do you do stuff with zero budget to actually market stuff? How do you sell when no one knows who you are, and you've got no brand, no message to start with? How do you find out what the message should be, deliver it in a compelling way that people who have no budget for you, don't know you, will lose no sleep if they don't buy you? How do you get those people to buy you in a way which is good for them, not just good for you? And how do you shorten the sales cycle from here to here? How do you make it a profitable sales cycle? How do you take friction out of the sales cycle? All these things so that the Series A investors will want to invest in you, because if you haven't done those things, they won't. And again, there's no help actually out there in the industry to really help you do a great job of this. There just absolutely is zero coaching which is highly targeted to the specific needs of how you sell as a tech entrepreneur, apart from the program that I do. And I say that not because I'm self-promoting, but because it's true. So that's the second component, is being really good at being able to sell what you do as a tech entrepreneur, as opposed to some generic corporate sales program. Then that's what's going to lead you to help get the next round of capital. And of course, there is some overlap between these skills. Now, if you can do that, and you can do that, great, congratulations. Now you're growing at 15% month on month, or 20% month on month, or you're growing at 300% per year or more, and you get all the accolades, and you get on with the work Fast 50, and everything seems fantastic until you find out you've got a problem here, because how do you scale? How do you scale, not technically, and not scale a sales process, but how do you scale your leadership? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is, and I see this a lot, I've worked with over 50 tech CEOs. The work I've been done just talking about me for just a little bit, then we'll go back to you. It's been covered in Nature magazine twice, one on pitching, one on how to avoid tech company failure, which is when these things don't work. I'm working internationally on this stuff, and more and more of the time, I just see the repeated patterns of what causes companies to fail, and it's utterly avoidable. So one of the things is, you can do that, but then you can't scale because you have not worked out how to effectively coach and delegate. And if you can't coach, you can't lead. Because if you can't coach, you can only create followers, not leaders. So if your goal is to scale your company, then how you do that is to grow leaders who can do things so you can delegate to them, so you don't become the bottleneck to growth. And if what is create leaders, then how is become a great coach. So you must become a great coach and a great delegator. And again, how do you do that? Well, having a great coach to coach you how to coach is a great start. There are many nuances. And again, this is something the industry doesn't teach you at all, doesn't coach you in at all, apart from the work that I do, and of course the coaches that I've coached to coach tech entrepreneurs. The stuff we're doing is unique, not only in New Zealand, it's unique in the world. This is not some generic mentoring program. This is run by the tech entrepreneur. I've been involved in 3 tech companies, all of which have had exit events. I've worked in the tech sector for 10 years, and then I spent another 12 years working, helping these 50 plus CEOs in this stuff. But I'm an educator. I ended up by accident in the tech economy because I'm an educator. That's what I do. I'm trained as a teacher. My parents were both teachers. I started my first business in school, teaching, coaching people, mentoring them, tutoring them in maths and English, and I've been doing it my whole life. So this is the stuff I eat up. So I look at things from a crazy different perspective, and I see that the major cause of tech company failure is not your market validation going wrong, not your product market fit, not your sales strategy, not your business plan wasn't good enough, not your sales execution, none of those things. Companies fall off the tracks when the founders do not have the skill set, the mindset, and the habits to effectively pitch, sell, and lead. That's it. And that's not just my opinion and observation over many, many years of working with tech founders and having been one myself. There's many papers on this. You can read scholarly articles. There's one called What Do Venture Capitalists Do, which cites that 65%, this is the opinion of 49 Silicon Valley venture capitalists, who said 65% of what causes tech companies to fail is the people-centric failure. The failures of senior management, the founders not having the right skills to do these things. So we didn't get follow-on investment, we didn't get enough sales, we didn't scale our company.